Can listening to audiobooks actually help you understand European Portuguese faster? Let's find out. Input is one of the most important parts of language learning, and honestly, it should be your first step before you even try to write or speak. So here's the question. Should you combine two types of input, reading and listening, at the same time? And if so, where can you actually find that content in European Portuguese? I get asked this a lot. Where can I find good audiobooks in European Portuguese? In this video, I'll share how audiobooks can help you improve your European Portuguese, the best place to find them, and a few things to watch out for, and whether I actually think this is the best way to boost your listening skills. Olá, eu sou Catarina. Here at the Language Unschool, I help you find your voice in European Portuguese by listening first. I'll start by saying you can find audiobooks all over the internet these days. A YouTube video or a podcast can be seen as one, since they are a source of audio and often come with a transcript. In my free mini Tuga, you can find 6 native resources to jumpstart your immersion using native content. And one of them is actually like an audiobook. You'll find the link below. Now, combining text and audio are adamant for learning European Portuguese. They are a super powerful combination because the way the Portuguese speak and the way the Portuguese write is quite different. Perhaps they can read signs or the menu at a restaurant. They cannot understand what people say. What happens in my program, for example, is that in the first phase, I have people just listen. There's no subtitles. And this allows people to really focus on just training their ears to the natural sounds of Portuguese. Don't you read the subtitles if they're available? It's human nature, except then you're reading. You're not really just listening. Or at least we can say you're splitting your attention. That's why I help my unschoolers recognize speech patterns when they have gone through what I like to call my listening bootcamp. Portuguese start. I'm not sure how best to communicate this. I'm starting to hear patterns and phrases to understand better the symbology of Portuguese, the ways in which ideas are expressed rather than a direct translation of the words. When they then enter the second phase of the program, Portuguese Plus, which is solely focused on bridging the gap between written Portuguese and spoken Portuguese, what happens then is people are going to listen to scenes while reading the transcript at the same time. Except it's not quite at the same time. We are normally able to read faster than we can actually hear. So we are going to read maybe 3 words, and quite quickly, my unschoolers can then predict what those 3 words will translate into one sound. Imagine seeing this on paper, como é que, and just knowing you will hear como é que. And it's incredibly useful because it allows people to further train their ears while improving their vocabulary. Now, whether audiobooks are the best material to do this, meaning to bridge the gap between written and spoken Portuguese, is something I will talk about later on in the video. What I will do now is share with you what I have come across as the best place to find audiobooks, specifically for European Portuguese, and what to watch out for. And if you know a better source, by all means, let me know in the comments so that other people can benefit from it as well. Bertrand, that's how we pronounce it, is a bookstore here in Portugal, and on their website you can find audiobooks. I will now take you to the website and show you how you can find content. But before we do so, obviously, you need to decide what kind of book you're going to read/listen to. Naturally, this will depend on what you would be interested in reading. For me, the unschooling approach is about bearing in mind what you are interested in, because the more you're interested in a topic, the more likely you are going to stick with it. So that's the first thing to consider. But on the other hand, you do need to consider as well that in the beginning, the luxury of choice is or should be limited, because sometimes you do need to go through certain content that may not be your first choice, but it is what's going to be more accessible to you at the moment. Let's consider the content you would normally enjoy. One piece of advice and warning I have is it may be a good idea when starting out to start with a book that you have read or listened to before in your native language so that you're familiar with the story, you're familiar with the style. And then after doing that a couple of times, you may be better prepared to jump into truly Portuguese content. When we talk about Portuguese literature, it's not just that the words are going to be in Portuguese. And you can maybe on your Kindle, click on the word and get a translation. It's not just that. It's the fact that writing style is going to be different because it is a different culture after all. And we will write in a different way. My Unschool Prati, who I've spoken to here on the channel a few times, once told me that she wasn't prepared at all for the originality of the expression of the language when she started reading Portuguese books. She said there were descriptions left and right, and those descriptions were ginormous. So really, a good idea to prevent you from investing some money and time reading content that is going to be perhaps too Portuguese is to start with a translation. But now let's go to Bertrand's website. So here we are on Bertrand's website, and you would just go here to Audiolivros, in Portuguese, of course, and you can approach this two ways. One would be just start exploring here, seeing what appeals to you. Let's say this book looks good to you, you're interested in it, you click on it, and you see here the audio button. So that's what you would click on. And you can immediately hear this is European Portuguese. Hopefully by now you would be able to distinguish European Portuguese from Brazilian Portuguese. And why am I bringing this up? Because if you will go back to the beginning, and let's say you would still go to, you don't have to go to Audiolivros. Let's say you like Jeffrey Archer. You read tons of his books. So you look him up. Of course, you're going to have physical books, but you want the audio ones. So you're going to filtrar por, and tipo de produto. And you go audiolivro. But this is not all. We want the idioma, that means língua, to be Portuguese. And this is what you need to watch out for because you're going to have Português do Brasil come up a lot as well. So, and if we would do that, you see there's a flag. I'm not sure it's 100% accurate. So you would always need to listen to the sample to make sure. And why would it make a difference? Because, vocabulary is going to be different. The pronunciation is going to be different. So it makes sense to stick to European Portuguese. So let's do again idioma, Português. And then let's listen to a sample here. So here you won't see a flag, okay? But then you can listen.
A Bertrand Editora apresenta O Segredo Mais Bem Guardado, de Jeffrey Archer, lido por Paulo Campos dos Reis.
Okay, now you know how to access audiobooks. And don't forget in my free mini tuga, you can find other native resources to help you immerse in Portuguese. I did select content that combines text and audio for a good reason. You can download it below. Of course, that content may not come in a super convenient format. Still, it helps bridge the gap between written and spoken Portuguese. And now comes the important question of the day. Are audiobooks the best way for you to learn Portuguese? I'm using the word to learn because it's quite vague, right? To be honest, all this depends on your intention. Do you want audiobooks because they're your favorite way of reading a book? Maybe you're in a car a lot or walking or have ADHD or dyslexia even, and listening to an audiobook at double speed is more manageable. Maybe you simply want to do some passive reading and audio therefore is convenient. Well, that's fine. But in case your intention is to improve your listening comprehension specifically while you have text and audio side by side, I'm afraid I must say I don't find audiobooks to be the best resource. Wouldn't you agree the audio in audiobooks tends to be more Cinderella Portuguese? The pronunciation and enunciation is going to be very, very clear. Not to mention the musicality of the language is not the same as the way we normally speak when talking to a friend. This makes perfect sense considering the medium, but it does not reflect how we speak. But it's okay as a stepping stone into more natural audio material. Are you a fan of audiobooks? And why do you want to use this resource to improve your European Portuguese? Tell me all in the comments. Your voice in Portuguese matters. Obrigada por verem, obrigada por me ouvirem. Até à próxima.